Hi, it's Edwin here once again. I'm so glad to be able to share with you about Edrhon Ministries right now, where we are at, and generally the whole journey of how the whole process has been. Uh, I remember very well, almost vividly, from the time that I was serving with Southfield Church. I was still a very young man, but even at that very time, my passion was young people. I loved young people. I loved to just help them, guide them, and lead them to a place where they could have their own unique and personal experience with our Lord Jesus Christ. Cutting the long story short, in around 2002, I made my way back to Uganda. And as some of you might have heard this story, I got to meet Rona, and she was right in the ministry at the time, and we were serving at the remand home in Nakuru, where these young people, juveniles, had been taken for rehabilitation. And I thought, this is the lady who shall help me in my vision and purpose in life. And so we kicked it off, and the Lord has done us so much good, bringing us through this journey of walking beside the young people, walking beside any young person that was able to come our way and really show that they needed help. Yes, when I got back here, I started working with Youth Outreach Uganda, and we were able to go to the remand homes. We were able to go to the babies' homes, as some of the young people from the UK came to visit, and they were able to go to some of these places as well. And all this was actually building what I would call my folio or my portfolio on how to work with young people. Eventually, after leaving YOU, I was able to join the Watoto. Some of you might have heard of Watoto, and I was the youth worker there with Watoto. And before I knew it, the ministry was growing to engage and to involve young people. While I did all this, I encountered so much of the challenges that young people face. Many of them had issues to do with their relationships. Many of them had issues to do with finances, upkeep, their parents, how to deal with their parents, the different challenges. And I'll tell you, it's a totally different ballgame here in Africa compared to the way it is out there in the West. Here, it's every day is pretty much a challenge. And I used to see these young people struggling, suffering, looking for ways to survive, but at the same time, stay close to the purpose of knowing Jesus. So eventually, I developed my theme in life, knowing Christ and making him be known to somebody out there, especially a young person. Over the years, I have seen so many young people built up, and right now, many of them are actually serving in the ministry. I'm talking about 20 years of being able to engage with young people. Some of them have become pastors. Many are already good fathers out there and mothers. Great ministry. They have started ministries that are very similar to what I used to do as a youth worker. They are doing youth work in their own niches and respect. So I'm very, very grateful for what God has been doing over these many, many years. And come 2017, I remember vividly when I visited with Southfield Church, and I was able to go meet Martin Harris. And Martin said, "Hey, Edwin, yes, you're doing very good work with the young people, but I don't see this work reflected in your own life, And that is when the idea of Edrhon Ministries was birthed. And when I came back home, at one point I prayed and said, God, what do we do? What do I do? Where do I start? And I just didn't know what I was going to do. But I remember one time Rona and I went over to the village, that's more in the rural areas, and we were looking at a piece of land where we could do our agricultural work, just do a bit of digging and farming. And while we were there, a woman walks up to us and says, "Hello, we need help." And so we asked, "What is the problem?" And she said, "We have a group of young people here that really would do with the help that you people from the city would offer." So that was kind of like the moment when the vision of Edrhon Ministries was birthed. And so as we began to talk to this lady and ask her what needs to be done, can we have a look at the children? And we went over and we saw the children, and what we saw was really heartbreaking. Many of these kids were sleeping down on the floor. They didn't have beds. They were working so many hours in the gardens. It was just a neighboring field of some guy that was just our neighbor. And it was really, really pathetic. And they were really struggling. Many of them were on the verge of breakdown. And the history, as we got to learn about these young people, was that many of them were falling out of school, because they didn't have the proper education. And so we said, why don't we try to build a kind of school setting, but exactly where they were. And so we began, some of you who have been following the story, we began to look for teachers and people that could run this school. And they did come. We had a few people come, and they managed to get these kids into a school setting. I would call it a simulation, a school simulation. And we didn't know that this was the beginning of what God was doing in Edrhon Ministries to lift the lifestyle of these young people. They were all constantly falling sick. So we began to look around for medical supplies. We contacted a nurse in the city close by, in the town close by, and we began to get medical assortments for them. And Rona also began to learn about these medicals, and pretty much sometimes I call her the doctor because she knows these medications so well, or almost off the tip of her fingers, And we dewormed these young people. We treated the malaria. We treated the sicknesses, all kinds of sicknesses that they had. In the meantime, we were also lobbying to see that we could get them into a proper education setting. Then around COVID time, when school was broken off, we had to stay them home and in the fields, in the gardens. But at the same time, we did not stop dreaming for them to actually join a better schooling institution. So eventually around 2021, we managed to get them into a neighboring school that was close by to where they were living. We talked with the proprietors of this institution. It was called Maranatha Vocational Institute. And they too are believers. So they felt our pain and our burden. And they said, hey, we will walk with you on this issue of helping these young people. So we were able to take these young people from the gardens and the fields where they were working. And it was at that point that we discovered that, hey, wait a minute. These kids are not just simply there doing a bit of work. They were actually being subjected to kind of child labor, which was really extreme. And so we began to work around the clock to see that these children are moved from this environment and taken to a schooling environment. And man, you should have seen the journey. It was really tough. Many of them had not been close to where most of their children, fellow children, environment of fellow children were in. And so it was really tough for them. But they began to adjust day by day, slowly by slowly. We got the rugs away and we gave them proper clothing. And that was another campaign altogether. We were able to get as many people that were willing to contribute some of the clothing of their children that they didn't need. And we thank God that we were able to get bales of clothing. And we appealed to friends out there, and they were able to buy beds, were able to buy mattresses, were able to buy bed sheets for them, were able to buy shoes. You've been seeing the documentation of how some of them have been able to get shoes. And then the school journey began, and now we had to struggle with the school fees, school tuition fees, and all the other extras that needed to be met. Meanwhile, the number, of course, along the way, some were not able to maintain the journey with us, and they fell off. We had a few girls that fell off the program. Some of them became pregnant and were not able to go on with school. Some of the boys could not fit well into this new society we were trying to get them in, and they went off to do other laboring work. And it was really sad because to us, it felt like a future had been severed for these young people. But we did not lose heart, especially with these that we had in the meantime. And so we continued over the years. We got them through school. We got them into primary school. I think by your standards, it could be year 6. I don't know whether there's year 5 or year 6, year 7, year 8. And some of them transitioned into secondary school. And at some point, we had about 5 or 6 into secondary school. And we moved with them. We walked with them. We asked them what their dreams were, what their visions were, what they wanted to be in the future. And of course, as you know, young people, the good people they see out there is what they want to become. Oh, we want to become doctors. We want to become engineers. We want, and pilots. So we want to be, and we were wowed. I said, wow, these are visions. These are dreams that young people want to move with. But do we have the capacity and the foundation to actually carry them on through to the fulfillment of their visions and their dreams? We did not lose heart. We said, right, we'll keep going. And at certain points in our lives, of course, we came over to the UK and we told you about what we're doing. In 2023, Ron and I were over in Southfield Church, and we did share with you about the work that we're doing. And this work continues. The dynamics are changing, but as you know, life can never be a constant. The dynamics are changing, but that's core value still remains. We're still working with young people, helping them to achieve their dream and their vision. And then now we're at that place where we are beginning to see these one-time small young people becoming mature young men. And we are old, actually. We are like, whoa, we are now beginning to groom some very responsible young people. I am glad to report that as we talk right now, we have had 2 of our young people move on from the primary secondary section into vocational. We have Francis. Francis has moved on to be an engineer. He's studying at the vocational school. The best we could do was to get them into vocational school. So Francis right now is studying to be an engineer at the vocation school. And then we have Michael. Michael felt, I want to be a nurse. And so we said, what can we do? We looked around and we investigated, and we discovered that yes, there is a college close by that is training nurses. And so Michael moved in there. Of course, the initial costs of getting him into a nursing school were really high, and so it affected these younger ones. But we were able to work with a few people that stood with us, that supported us, and even you yourselves were able to stand with us. And we said, hey, thank God we have been able to bring these young people to that place where they can partially, almost tangibly reach out to what their dreams and visions are. Right now, Michael has just returned from a training session as a nurse over in one of the villages in Mitiana. So we are grateful for that. Francis has been going to do some apprenticeship in a garage. And so he was able to move around and see how an engine. I went over to visit with him, and it's amazing. he was able to take me through how an engine works. I was very, very impressed that he's now got to that knowledge of how to dismantle and how the engine works, and he had the wrenches and the machines and I was like, whoa, look at this, we have an engineer in the making. And I'm yet to see what Michael is doing, but I believe that it is some amazing work going on there in the hospitals. Of course, we're not allowed in the hospitals, but I believe that Michael is also doing amazing things. We were able to get him a dictionary, a medical dictionary, and all these things that doctors use, like the stethoscope and many other things that I just don't understand the language of the medics, but indeed we were able to get some of these things over to him. And I want to say a very big thank you to my wife Rona, who is hands-on, and she's able to understand these things even more than I do, especially the practical things of how to meet the needs of these young people. And the girls have been growing, and of course they have been going through their adolescence challenges. And I told Rona that's your field, please attend to the girls. I was able to attend to the boys, and we're walking around with the boys. I would sit down with some of the boys and give them pep talks on how to become men, and especially God-fearing men. And it's impressive how many of them are turning out. Meanwhile, while Michael is studying to be a nurse, it's amazing that while he's not at school, he's at his church. So he's also aspiring to be a youth pastor, a youth minister. And it's amazing that he's doing amazing work with the young people in his church. Personally, that is a very great move and achievement for me. I am beginning to multiply myself into many other young leaders. And that is very, very encouraging to me, because I know that legacy of drawing and nurturing young people in the faith is actually continuing to move on. And we're going to have an explosion of young people. It might not be directly through me and Rona or through Edrhon Ministries, but I know that those young people are going to replicate themselves over the years. Meanwhile, these others are also coming up in the ladders and moving up the ladders of going through the primary school, going through the secondary school, and we are doing our best to buy the textbooks, to buy all the necessary things. By the way, here in Uganda, it's very, very essential that if a child is to achieve their education dream or vision, they are actually placed in a boarding school. A boarding school is not a luxury here. It's almost a necessity. And so we were able to get them from this guy that was really treating them so bad. He never used to feed them, but then he used to work them many hours. Now, the other thing that we did was to actually get these young people to let us know where their parents are. And the moment we got to know where their parents are, we began to reach out to the parents, and that was another area altogether to help these parents understand that helping these young people live close to where they were was very, very key to the development of these young people. And so eventually, most of these children were relocated back into their home settings, and we got to visit the mothers. We got to meet their brothers and sisters, and for some situations we were forced to empower the families because the mothers were really having poor jobs, and they asked if we could only be assisted to start up, have startups, business startups, and we were able to help some of these people. Up to now, some of them still struggle, and we have to meet or come and meet them at their point of need. But to us, that is a very, very great achievement. We are so encouraged that we are seeing lives changed. We are seeing lives transformed. We are seeing young people turn to Christ and be strong in their faith. So we're really, really grateful for the journey that Edrhon Ministries is taking. Now, we are very grateful that you and several other people are actually choosing to stand with us in this area of fundraising. We have you as friends, and we believe that you will continue to stand with us in this journey. It's just not us, it is you as well. Every time every one of you takes something, commit something to the Edrhon Ministries, you are actually standing. You are the one meeting the need of these young people. We're only vessels, we're only channels, but God is working through you. May God continue to work through you. I'm drawn to that scripture in 1 Corinthians that talks about love. And we're seeing love physically manifested in these young lives. And the truth is, there are challenges. Some of these young children are almost going off, and we're continuously having to love them and say, look, we love you. We want to continue standing with you. But Christ is the answer to your issue. Remember, we got some of these children from drug-infested areas, and some of them were also were already given to drugs, and so now they struggle to get them off these drugs and to get them into civil society and community is a real challenge. But we believe that He who began a good work in us definitely bring it to completion. So while we love them, we do not want to keep a record of wrongs. We do not want to hate them. We don't want to, discourage them, but we want to keep them loved and encouraged and lifted up. And eventually, we believe that one day we shall have a soul that comes out fully grown and nurtured in the love and the faith of Christ, but at the same time out there in the world and adding value to their communities. We thank you so much. Thank you, Southfield Church, for standing with Edrhon Ministries in every respect. Yes, it's been a good while that you've stood with us, but I can assure you, you've done a great job to lift up a young life somewhere deep in the fields and in the country here in Africa. We are blessed. Rona and I are so grateful for the work that you're doing in Edrhon Ministries. On a personal note, we are grateful. Our daughter Blessing is almost done with her secondary school. She's in her final year, and next year she should be joining university. Our son Benir Harris is also, I think that would be year 8 now or year 9, one of the two, grade 9 or grade 8, I'm not very sure. But we are grateful that they have moved on. Yes, Benir has now moved on to grade 9 or year 9 or one of the two, like I mentioned earlier. Then we have Asha Brent. Asha Brent is also in, that would be year 5, I think, by your standards. He's still in his primary, and he's very happy with his studies. But the unique thing about him is so deeply engaged in the ministry as well, and he's loving it. And I'm impressed by what he's doing and what God is doing in his life. So thank you. And that has been the Buwules. That's us. But at the same time, it's hard to separate the two, the ministry and the people. And so God has been gracious to us. Thank you for standing with us, and may God bless you so much. And I'm very happy when I look online, and once in a while I see some of the young people getting married and moving on with their lives, and the developments that I see. And God bless you, and I am sure that we can make this journey together. I love you, and I pray for the best for you guys out there. Bye for now.